So if you're wondering what we talk about during the breaks, you're probably like, oh man, they're probably discussing numbers going back and forth. Where is the money going? What is your best bet tonight? How do you feel about this prop? And all of a sudden I hear Chelsea go, hey, who's Jennifer Aniston dating now? So apparently we've done some research and she's dating a hypnotist? Well, I guess he did his job.
This a few seconds ago. Right? Like, isn't that the ultimate sign of, like, you're good at your job, is that you got an A-list actress to start dating you? And, like, I'm trying to, like, make some type of parallel to, like, college basketball here. I do feel like if there was a March Madness bracket of celebrity dating, like, gossip and news, Jennifer Aniston would be a perennial 1 seed. Like, haven't we been interested in her love life for, like, the last 25 years?
We?
Okay,
Yes.
me?
I mean, absolutely. I am her number one stan. Listen, if something happens with Jennifer Aniston, I want to know. Text me, send me a video, tag me on X. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I had no idea. A hypnotist? She's like, I'm not interested. He goes, you're interested. You are interested. That's right. When do you want to go out? I wonder how that works. A hypnotist? That's crazy. I know it's not crazy. Analyzing what's happening in college basketball after a month. So we're going to bring in Chris Spatola, who is a college basketball analyst, of course, for ESPN. Chris, do you have a thought on Jennifer Aniston dating a hypnotist? Is this thing going to work out? Because we, all of us, I know you too, we've been following this for 25 years.
Man, if you think you're the biggest stan, you better get in line behind me, man. I am all about some Jennifer Aniston. I am all about Jennifer Aniston. Come on, man.
My bad. Sorry. Didn't give you enough credit there. So we have been following Purdue. We know that number one team in the country, but are they your number one team?
No, I don't think they're my number one team yet. And look, they may right now have the player of the year in freshman Cam Boozer. But they're still starting 2 freshmen. Still a lot that, I think you're still trying to figure out with Duke. And that's not to say that they couldn't be there as this year moves forward. But with the way that, Michigan has played, Purdue is certainly going to be in there. Both those teams, more veteran, I think a little bit more diverse in number of guys who can make an impact. We've seen some teams come. Iowa State is sort of kind of right there in the fold. UConn got a big win last night. Arizona. What I will say is that the world is a little bit more flat this year than perhaps we have seen over the last handful of years. Certainly going back 2 years ago when it was UConn and Purdue and everybody else. I don't think anybody really has an idea of where that separation lies right now. And Duke, obviously a big win last night over Florida. Duke is certainly going to be in that conversation.
How much stock do you put in the numbers right now? Because, obviously we're a betting show and we look at Kim Pop a lot. But I feel like it's so early in the year, and when you only have an 8-game sample size, and not all of these teams have the same resume and are playing the same teams, it's hard for me to look at this list and be like, okay, this is the best shooting team in America. And some of it does line up with the eye test. Like when you see the top teams, when it comes to 4 factors, it's Purdue, Louisville, Alabama, and Vanderbilt, BYU and Duke not far behind. But when you look at these numbers, how much does this go into what you think of a team this early in the season?
Yeah, it's hard. It's a good question. It's hard because, first of all, I think schedules have gotten better for the top programs. I think they're playing more competitive schedules this time of year than, maybe 5-10 years ago. But remember, they're still putting those cupcakes on their schedule, which inflates a lot of these numbers. So that's the first thing. You have to understand that non-conference schedules are about half and half cupcakes versus competitive schedule. The other thing is with the numbers, just, sort of as a projection moving forward, is the transfer portal has I don't want to say it's more of an impact on college basketball, but when you combine the portal, the one and done, like college football, they get these guys for 3 years and they may transfer, but they're in, kind of have an idea of who they are. One of the things about college basketball this year is two things. One, this freshman class is going to have a major impact, I think, on what ultimately happens come March. This is as good a freshman class as we have had in a long time in college basketball. And it's not just a projective freshman class. It's a productive one as well that I think will continue to get better. But the other thing is just factoring in the portal. I mean, you guys know, like all of these rosters, I did a game last night. They had 12 new dudes on the team. So it's very, like, none of these teams are finished products. And that's where, like, a Michigan and Purdue, while those teams do have transfers, Michigan more than Purdue, there's more continuity there. And so you can kind of get an idea of, okay, this is who this team was last year, who their guys were last year. This is who they could potentially be moving forward. There's just a lot of variability right now. And until you get into conference play in January and February, where you're playing a consistently competitive schedule and you have rosters that have been together for now a couple months, those are the numbers that I think you can start to trust more consistently.
Chris, the team that fascinates me is UConn, just because they're always in the conversation, but they're such a deep team and they're getting healthier. How big of a threat is UConn? They're the fourth favorite to win the national title, so clearly one of the best teams in the country, but what is your take on the Huskies?
Yeah, big threat, and they're playing more, as the hunter, as Dan Hurley has pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
They are, you come off 2 national titles, and I thought the coach was part of the problem last year. Like, I thought he was having a hard time dealing with the success that he was having and his program was having. 2 national titles, he was flirting with the Lakers. I mean, just a lot going on for Dan Hurley, and I think it impacted his team on top of the fact that they weren't nearly as talented. The thing you've got this year is, again, I go back to that word of continuity. You bring back a solo ball. You bring back an Alex Caravan, who's been a part of 2 national titles. You bring back a Terrace Reed, who didn't play last night but was in that program last year. So you have that continuity year over year. You have guys on that team who had their faces rubbed in mud last year. That competitive equity matters. And then you add a transfer like a Silas Demery, who comes from Georgia, now a junior, and is really talented. And that's one thing with Dan Hurley. Like, he has taken – you go back to Tristan Newton during their 2 national titles. Like, that was a transfer that fit really well in Dan Hurley's style. They're deeper, this year than they were last year. And then you add in a really talented freshman, again, like they did in that second national title with a Stephon Castle. You add a Braylon Mullins, who they now have back. You assume he gets healthier and can help them. I like their team. I think they're going to be one of those teams where not a finished product right now, but as you move forward, I think they're certainly going to be in that handful, that top 5 teams that could win a title.
I wanted to ask you about Duke's Cam Boozer, because it feels like everything I've heard about him, and like obviously when you watch him, it's very apparent as well. Like, he's only 18 years old. We know he is a legacy with Carlos Boozer being his dad, but everybody talks about how technically sound he is for being that age. What do you think his ceiling is?
Yeah, he's an interesting case because, like, he is not going to fit the profile as a number 1 pick in the draft because of the measurables. He's not a great athlete. He's definitely more of a below the rim type of a player versus a Caleb Wilson at North Carolina, for example. He's only 6'8", so like what position do you play him at in the NBA? Can he be a bully 4-man in the NBA? But the thing with Cam Boozer and why it's an interesting case is because at the end of the day, you cannot mask the production. Like, he's had 2 35-plus point games this year. He has dominated bigger front lines. Like, some of the best front lines in our sport, Tennessee, dominated them earlier this season in an exhibition game. Last night, Florida brings back its entire front line from that team that won the national championship, and it is a massive front line, and he goes for 29 and 6. So ultimately, like, you can't ignore the production. And part of, to your question, and it's really good insight, execution and angles and fundamentals are an athleticism equalizer. You can neutralize better athletes, bigger players by being really good at angles, by being able to finish with both hands, by having a versatility to your game. Like, he knocked down 3 threes last night. He can put the ball on the floor. He's a really good passer, and he's got a great IQ. And by the way, he's a winner. He won everything in high school. I mean, just everything. And that matters. Like, that really does matter. And you have seen that manifest, in Duke's undefeated start to the year. He has been the most productive, consistently productive player of any class in college basketball so far this year. And so he's going to be an interesting case to look forward. I know, sometimes we speed up the timetable on the draft talk, but as we get into, the draft come June, he's going to be an interesting case because, again, it is a loaded freshman class this year in college basketball, and he's not going to fit the profile of what those NBA teams are necessarily looking for as an athlete and in terms of his size. But his production, you're not going to be able to ignore it, I think, by the end of the year.
Chris, who is a mid-market team or mid-major team, I should say, that we should watch out for come January, February?
Yeah, I'll give you a great one. Utah State. I had them over Thanksgiving week at a tournament, and this is a program with great tradition. They have been in the They were in the tournament last year. I think they've been in the tournament 3 of the last 5 years, some crazy number like that. But the point is, they have a history of getting to the tournament, and I think this is the best version of Utah State that I have seen in that period of time. They play in the Mountain West Conference. So it's a competitive conference. Like, they're putting 4 teams in the NCAA tournament every year now. And the thing with this Utah State team this year is, defensively, they play this matchup zone that teams, you just don't see it a lot. And so when you're seeing it for the first time, it's a tough prep on a quick turnaround, and they're really aggressive with it. Like, it's a really athletic, physical, tough, old Utah State team. If you believe in the adage that you win in college basketball and in March with guards, their starting backcourt are 2 dudes who are 24 years old. They're both married. And so they're grizzled. They're veteran dudes. They've been around a long time. And then you combine that with pretty good size, but just a hard-playing, blue-collar, lunch pail type of a defensive mentality. And then they're really, really together offensively. Again, I go back to that continuity. And, sometimes these mid-major programs can get pillaged and just absolutely ransacked by the high majors in the portal. Utah State was able to keep some guys from last year, and then a couple of the guys in the portal they got have been really productive. So that's a team I would throw at you that I've seen early that I think is absolutely a tournament team and could potentially win a game or 2.
He is a college basketball analyst for ESPN, Chris Spatola. Chris, great stuff this morning, and I've got a ton of Jennifer Aniston stuff I'll send your way.
Oh, dude, I love it, man. I'll add it to my collection. Add it to the collection.
Thank you, man. We appreciate it.
You guys be good.